All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome. I'm calling this meeting to order, and the roll has been taken by the clerk. Uh, to remind everyone about the rules of procedure, this meeting is being held in a hybrid format in accordance with Article 18 of the city's procedural bylaw. Staff and delegates participating virtually are reminded to keep their video and microphones off until requested by the chair or committee members of the committee. All cameras for virtual committee members shall remain on to ensure quorum. All members of the committee will vote by a physical show of hands. Please leave your hand raised until the chair has determined the result of the vote. In the event of a connection or service interruption that affects quorum, we may recess the meeting for up to 15 minutes to regain quorum. If quorum is not achieved, the meeting will be adjourned. Moving on to item number 2, declarations of conflicts of interest. Anyone have a conflict with anything this evening? Perfect. No presentations or delegations, so we'll move forward to 4.1. This is the 3 Grand River Crossings EA. And we have Joanna Kelly here from WSIP. And a reminder, you got 10 minutes inclusive of questions. So we'll let you get into the room, get set up with the presentation.
Wonderful. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yep, thanks.
Great. Hi, everyone. My name is Joanna Kelly. I am a cultural heritage specialist with WSP. I'll be speaking to the heritage conservation plan that we prepared for the Brant's Crossing Bridge, just to give a bit of a summary of the report. I don't have control, right? Can we advance to the next slide, please? Thank you. So I'll start with a little bit of a background. The Brant's Crossing Bridge is a 4-span beam bridge with 2 through plate girder approach spans and 2 prop truss frame center spans. The superstructure is supported on cast-in-place concrete abutments and 3 cast-in-place concrete piers with curved ends. The structure was built over 1912 to 1913. It was actually a replacement of an earlier structure to carry the former Grand Trunk Railway line across the Grand River. And it was converted in 1996 to a pedestrian crossing. The bridge is situated between the Lorne Bridge just to the north and the Toronto, Hamilton, and Buffalo Crossings Bridge to the south. The bridge itself was evaluated in 2021 and found to meet 7 of the 9 criteria in OREG 906. And it was also evaluated as part of a broader cultural heritage landscape. It was identified as one of the major built features together with the 2 adjacent bridges, several other built features and smaller scale built elements, as well as natural features. And this landscape was found to meet 6 out of the 9 criteria in OREG 906. So the proposed work will introduce a change to the bridge in that the bridge's superstructure will be replaced. So this heritage conservation plan was undertaken to ensure conservation of the bridge's identified heritage attributes and the significance. If we could go to the next slide, please. And I've just realized that 10 minutes, I will probably go over that. So I'm not going to read through the heritage attributes of the bridge, but the concrete substructure is identified as an attribute, as well as all 4 spans of the superstructure, and the clear wide vistas of the Grand River, as well as the Lorne Bridge to the north and the bridge to the south as well. If we could go to the next slide, please. Thanks. The Brant's Crossing Bridge is listed as, again, as one of the major built features of the Brantford Crossings cultural heritage landscape. And it features prominently in each of the 3 views that are specifically listed as attributes of the landscape. This map is from the evaluation report, and it just lists out the built and natural features within the landscape, but the 3 viewscapes that are identified as heritage attributes include the intervisible views of the 3 bridges, as well as other built and natural features, and the vistas from the north and from the south that incorporate all 3 bridges. Next slide, please. Thank you. Recent structural inspections noted the poor condition of the superstructure. And so to address this, municipal class EA recommended that the substructure be repaired and the superstructure should be replaced. So the current planned work involves replacement of the superstructure with 4 prefabricated structural steel trusses. These will have a similar configuration to the existing superstructure with lower trusses with no overhead bracing on the end spans and taller trusses with overhead bracing in the middle spans. And as part of this work, a portion of the structural steel will be salvaged from the existing trusses to form part of an interpretive art installation, which is yet to be designed. In terms of the substructure, the concrete abutments and the piers are to be repaired, and new pedestals will be built onto the existing concrete to accommodate the minimum rise needed for the new superstructure. And the center pier will be modified for a new pedestrian lookout on both the up and downstream sides. And there will be a few bits and pieces as well in terms of a light system, some utility relocations and things like that. Next slide, please. So the goals of this conservation plan are kind of twofold. The first is to conserve the substructure of the bridge as tangible components of the cultural heritage values and heritage attributes, as well of the bridge itself and as well of the Brantford's crossing heritage landscape, as well as relocating and reconstituting the bridge's superstructure as a commemorative installation. And there are a few strategies that the conservation plan uses to achieve this, primarily rehabilitation for the substructure and reassembly and reconstitution for the superstructure. Next slide, please. So to guide us in achieving this, we've followed conservation strategies outlined in Parks Canada's standards and guidelines for the conservation of historic places in Canada. To conserve those identified views to and from the bridge, as well as those inner visible views of the structures and the features within the cultural heritage landscape, we looked to the standards and guidelines for visual relationships. And in accordance with these, the new superstructure should be designed to be sympathetic with the Brant's Crossing Bridge and the broader heritage landscape, as well as the seasonal maintenance program for the bridge should be sensitive to the natural environment of the Grand River. The standard for engineering works provides guidance for the constructed elements, such as a bridge, as well as functional arrangements. And so the application of this is to maintain the functional arrangement of the structure by replacing the superstructure with a sympathetic designed replacement and retain the concrete substructure in situ. As well for the substructure and the overall structures to undertake necessary repairs and alterations in a replacement in kind manner, which just means using materials and forms that match the original design and materials. And finally, the standard for concrete materials provides guidance around undertaking the repairs to the substructure, again, using a replacement in kind approach. Next slide, please. So the Heritage Conservation Plan outlines an action plan to put these strategies into motion, and it's broken down into 3 phases: the planning, the implementation, and the monitoring phase. So during the planning phase, designs for the bridge should be finalized and approved by the city. The replacement structure, again, should be designed to be compatible, but not necessarily mimic the bridge in scale and material. The commemorative installation should be planned and designed. For this installation, it's really encouraged that the design incorporate as many components of the dismantled elements as possible, as well as consider locating the feature in the adjacent parkland. This would help preserve the link between the bridge and the broader landscape. Reports that detail the historical background and the evaluation of the bridge should also be circulated to and reviewed by the artist to gain an understanding of the bridge's history, the heritage attributes, the landscape context, and help inform the design of that commemorative installation. And throughout this process, city planning staff should be consulted regularly for input on design and location. Archive documentation. Oh, sorry. I'm going to spend a few more minutes on that last slide because I'm just going to give a little bit of detail about it, about each one. So archival documentation, any reports and photos produced as part of the project should be compiled and submitted to the Brantford Library Archives. And to date, this includes the evaluation report, the impact assessment, this conservation plan, and general arrangement drawings produced by WSP last year. Plan for storage of the materials, so an appropriate storage facility should be identified and secured. And finally, substructure repairs and modifications should be planned for And any sound concrete, as part of this, any sound concrete elements should be retained, and repairs should incorporate materials and methods that are sympathetic to the existing materials in character and appearance, but that also provide good long-term performance. During the implementation phase, the superstructure should be dismantled. Since designs for the commemorative installation aren't started yet, before this happens, there should be consultation with the artist to allow for the opportunity to reuse intact portions of the bridge. And again, during this phase, the planned repairs and the modifications to the substructure will be carried out. Installation of the new bridge superstructure. The commemorative installation should be finalized and installed, as well as a long-term storage, disposal, or deaccessioning plan developed for any remaining materials. And finally, consideration should be given to the development and the installation of a commemorative or informative plaque to convey the historical significance of the bridge, and note the replacement of the superstructure, the reuse of the substructure, as well as the relationship to the broader heritage landscape. And our recommendation is to consider positioning this plaque either on or near the new pedestrian lookouts that have been incorporated into the new designs. These locations are really primed to provide sort of an interactive experience in that they allow for identification in real time while someone's standing there of the components and the attributes of the bridge and the broader heritage landscape while you're looking both up and downstream. And finally, during the monitoring phase, biannual inspection schedule for both the commemorative installation and the bridge should be developed and implemented. Winter de-icing strategy should be planned for that conserves, again, that natural environment of the Grand River and the structural integrity of the bridge. Any routine and maintenance or repairs that need to be carried out can be done so on an as-needed basis to keep the installation and the bridge in good repair. And finally, this conservation plan should be regularly reviewed and updated to monitor for compliance and to, continually improve the plan. Okay, next slide. And that's it from me. I'm happy to discuss anything in more detail if there are any questions about the conservation plan or anything like that. But yeah, thanks for your attention.
Thanks, Joanna. Any questions for our report? Okay, go ahead, Tamara.
Thanks, Joanna. Can we go back to that drawing of the new bridge, like because it looks like a brand new bridge to me. I'm just trying to figure out what, oh, down, yeah. Like what components are actually being maintained.
Yeah, so it's the substructure. It's the concrete piers and the abutments holding the bridge up. So yeah, you're right. The entire superstructure is being replaced, and this is something that I'm not one of the engineers. So if there's some technical details that are needed here, maybe I can take those questions back to the engineer. But the attempt here has been to sort of mimic that scale of the existing bridge. So where there's the lower approach spans on either end, and then the taller kind of portal bracing of those center spans that you walk through and get that kind of experience. The idea is that this is being mimicked in this new design, as well as sort of keeping that truss design so that you have that visual, the ability to sort of see through and across into those intervisible views that have been identified.
That actually answer your question?
It did. I just don't like it at all. Yes, maybe that's the thing. I don't know. Ask other opinions. It's fine. I guess I'm just a little shocked that like there's like no heritage left to it. It's basically going to be a brand new rebuilt bridge that looks nothing like the one that's there. And I'm kind of disappointed with that, but it's okay. I don't know what to see.
Okay.
Sorry.
And anything else from you before I turn it over to someone else? So?
Well, okay, so while I'm on the table, I guess.
Yep.
So part of the immediate redoing of the downtown too. So we mentioned the Lorne Bridge is going to be closed for reconstruction and widening or whatever's going on there. I'm sure our counselor here can elaborate more on that, as well as a new arena downtown, like, so there's gonna be a lot more foot traffic. I'm just wondering if there's anything that's being accommodated in the around area to make sure that any of these metal structures, I guess, that are taking up the park space aren't now gonna be impeded by foot traffic or pathways that are getting to the rest of the downtown too. Just, I don't know what the purpose of the structures being planted in the gardens there.
Okay.
Sorry, Joanna.
Anything else?
Good evening. I can answer those questions if I may.
Yeah, go
Thank
ahead.
you.
Perfect. Through the chair to you for the questions on all the work going around through the downtowns. I'm Jennifer Elliott. I'm Director of Engineering Services with the city. So the Lorne Bridge, it's going through some investigation right now to see rehabilitation that's required on that bridge. So at this point, we're anticipating just some rehabilitation to that bridge. So we would be timing that outside of the downtown revitalization project, so not to impede traffic all over the downtown, so to speak. But it won't be fully closed. It won't be widened either, so it would maintain its 4 5-lane cross section. There is also an EA that's supposed to start for the widening of the Veterans Memorial Parkway. So that's about a 2-year span for that environmental assessment for that work. So that's still about 2 years out to finish the EA, and then it would move into design work, which again would be then another year before it hits any construction as to whatever that's defined in that environmental assessment portion. For the additional work in the downtown, like the sports and entertainment center. So for foot traffic, yes, we have identified that through the original 3 bridges EA. So we rehabilitated the THMB crossing so that we could open that one back up and have that safe crossing. So that the rehabilitation to that bridge has just been to extend that lifespan so that it can age out once the Brant's Crossing Bridge has been replaced and raised. So it needs to be raised in which to hit flood levels, so that's why that whole superstructure has to come off in which to raise it. And then we are reusing the shape and the trusses and the feel of that bridge in the new bridge to be replaced on top. So, and it will be much shorter because it doesn't require train traffic, it's just for foot traffic. So then for the heritage aspect of that bridge, we will be taking like about half of a truss off, moving it away, and having that added into an art piece, a commemorative art piece with the plaque and everything that will be positioned right beside the northeastern portion of where that bridge hits the trail. A lot of information, but I hope that kind of addresses all of those questions.
Yeah. You're good? Right?
Yes.
Okay, for now. Okay, we'll go on to Bev, and I see Dan's hand as well.
Joanna, you had mentioned pedestrian lookouts. Did I hear you correctly that there's 4 that are to be incorporated into the new design? And would they be looking both up and down the river course, I'm assuming?
The current structure has sort of the lookouts going up and down, and the new structure, I think the intent is to have that same space there as well.
Okay.
That center pier is going to be adjusted to accommodate that space on either side, on either elevation. So there will be 2.
Okay, thanks.
Anything else, Bev?
No.
Hey, Dan?
So that this is happening with the new bridge and the old one cannot be repaired and raised and be used again?
Through the chair, you are correct.
Anything else, Dan?
Yes. Why? So why was it not, was it because of cost that the repairs could not have been done and used the original bridge or kept the original bridge?
So through the chair to yourself, through the EA, it was identified that it was in a state of disrepair on those joints. So during the ice jam of 2018, it did hit the bottom of the bridge and lift it and shift it over on its piers. So it does need to have all of those repairs done, which are the major repairs to that bridge. So it needs to be taken off, lifted, and then have the new bridge, the new superstructure placed on top.
That's your question?
Oh, it does, but
Okay. Anyone else before I turn it over to Councillor Sullivan? Hey, go ahead, Councillor Sullivan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you to Jen, could we not have put a little more effort into making the bridge mimic the current bridge and look like it, even though it's at a point of disarray? Could we not make it look the same without making these major changes to it?
Through the chair to you, Councillor Sullivan. So we are utilizing that same truss look with the cross branding of the truss. It's just going to be shorter just because of the needs traveling over that bridge. So we have the similar, the east and the west portion of that pier, and then the two center portions will have the exact same truss configuration.
Okay, now is that going to affect, and now I'm going to take this off of heritage a little, is that going to affect our movie going with that bridge? Because part of the whole thing of why people come for that bridge is the way it looks. We're going to alternately change that dramatically.
Through the chair to yourself, I can't answer that 100%, but it will look different. It will have the same patina, the same material, the same truss, but it just will not be that same height and that same aged. So potentially, I do know there are quite a lot of TV shows and such that use that area. The Lorne Bridge will still be off in the distance. The THMB Bridge will be there until it ages out, which would be about another 5 to 10 years. And then that THMB Bridge is to be removed.
Now the THMB, are we going to be replacing that when the time comes, or just removing it outright?
Through the EA was identified that the THMB Bridge would be.
Okay, I, as a councillor and knowing our bridge problems in the city, I would definitely suggest that we revisit that and not actually remove a crossing that we currently have.
Yeah, we can definitely look at that. It was just identified that there's those 3 bridges in quite short succession, and 2 of them are primarily, they are only for foot traffic, but it was identified to be removed, but we can definitely relook at that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? Jan, for a second time? Okay.
is the bridge designated?
No, I don't, no.
No, so the bridge was evaluated and found to meet 906, but it's not currently on their register.
So it's not listed or designated either?
That's right.
I have a couple questions that I'm gonna ask. You reference at the bridge has these original bulb angles. Can you describe what a bulb angle is for someone who might not know? Is it the part that like holds the girders together and like it's that connecting piece?
Yeah. It's an attachment on that angle. Yeah. It's hard to describe without photos.
Okay. And then you've outlined a conservation plan, but there are no costs associated with the plans. Where do the cost kind of things come in? Is that the next step, or can you speak a little bit to that?
Well, the costs associated with it are sort of built into other processes, like we're making recommendations on the designs and considerations for other aspects that are doing that design work. So the costs associated with what we've recommended, I'm not sure that it's our place to put a number on them. The design work's already happening. My understanding is the commemorative sculpture or the installation as well is something that's already in progress. So I mean, processes are already costed out.
I'll just make a comment that I do like the idea that if the structure is being removed, that there's going to be a public art piece out of it. You talked about the 3 steps: the plan, the implementation, and the monitor. Do those have timelines as well? Like, when does the plan start and end, and when does the implementation start and end, so to speak?
Yeah, I mean, there are timelines set out in the report. I think the recommendation in the report is that the work be completed within 2 years, and that's sort of broken down in a table along with that action plan, it's like step by step. They're very rough timelines, and we've also noted that they may be subject to change or approvals by the city, and that they're not set in stone, basically. In terms of the conservation plan itself, one of the recommendations is that the plan should be continually updated. And we've noted every 5 years, just for that additional information that'll happen to incorporate that into the plan, and monitoring and compliance and things like that. So there's really no end date to the conservation plan, so long as there are attributes and significance to conserve. But there is a very rough timeline broken down in the report.
Okay. And then I understand Dan's concern about the bridge going, but then I also did look at the report and notice all of the, deterioration within the structure, particularly within the like the girders, the substructure, right, and all that stuff. And that's, the bridge won't stay up if that substructure isn't stable. If the substructure fails, then the entire bridge goes, right? So that's why I understand the importance of that. In the new bridge, is there anything like caging or something that's going to be put over top to like obstruct those views, or like perhaps prevent someone from trying to make an entry into the Grand River from the bridge, so to speak? Some safety barriers.
Through the chair to yourself. So the new bridge, no, it will not have caging all the way around. It will be similar to that structure you see today, but there will be, it will be wider. The walking path will be wider, and it will have the railings that are at the specific height. I think it's approximately 1.4, about or 1.5 meters tall would be those railings.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else questions for our guests before we bid adieu? Oh, Bev, go ahead.
With respect to the lighting system, there's nothing that's illustrated on the proposed design. And just a comment that whatever goes in should be historic to the time period of the construction of the bridge. So.
Okay, thanks, Bev. And thanks to Joanna and Jennifer as well. Thank you for your time and your questions, or your answers to our questions. Appreciate it. Ellen, do you have anything that you need to add about this? No? No? Okay. So we have a motion that the report be received and that we have comments. So do people have comments about this? We've had a bit of discussion, so I think there might be some comments. Does anyone have any comments they would like to add? Okay, so we're gonna have comments. So can I get a mover and a seconder for comments? Okay, so I see Tamara, Elise. Okay, go ahead, Tamara.
I would like to see a little more historical detailing, I guess. It's going to be rebuilt, and it's going to, like, I understand, I was present in the city, of course, when the whole ice jam happened, and I know the devastation that happened to a lot of these things. So I appreciate the fact that the concrete and the metal works and everything else like that is definitely in need of major repairs and obviously replacement. But I would like to see some architecturally detailed additions maybe added to it just to bring that glory, I guess, back to it, or that historical feel to it.
So something like historical detailing should
Yeah.
be incorporated into the new
Into
structure.
the design, yeah. And I understand that they've used the, you know, the trussing system, there you go. It's just the scale of it is like so grand right now, and then basically it's just being shrunk down to a walking bridge.
Okay, any other comments from you?
That's it.
Okay,
Thank you.
any other comments from members? Go ahead.
Well, and that, to go with that, that is a comment, that is there any reason why that the trusses, that structure cannot be at that height? Because, I mean, so what, a train can go on it, but it does restore what you're saying. Like, can it, I don't know if our engineer is still there, but can it just be made to the same height? Like, I know it can be shortened, does it have to be shortened?
Like, I understand, like, it doesn't have to be as tall as maybe, like, it doesn't have to fit a train through it. And I understand the expense, of course, of the extra material and that's going to be going into it. If they
But the
do it
height
right,
is-
it only has to last 100
But the height
years.
is for the structural issue of the more weight.
Right.
And,
yeah.
and that's
They won't
why,
need
but
that.
let's just
Yeah.
maybe put back.
Any other comments from people? Dan, go ahead.
I think that if bridge is visible from 100 to 200 feet, I think it should look exactly the same. If it's being replaced. If you get any closer, I don't care what the nuts and bolts of it, but I think it should look the same. Especially if people are coming here to film or to enjoy the beauty from walking across the Lauren Bridge, I think it should look the same. We're gonna spend the time and money on it and do it right and make a recreation.
Okay, noted. Any other comments from people? Oh, Bev, sorry.
Just about the lighting, that the lighting be historic in its design.
Anything else from anyone? Maybe, go ahead.
Not that I can think of an example offhand, kind of Blackfriars Bridge in London, although I
Yeah.
don't think it was impacted by that kind of flood. But just maybe looking at how other municipalities maybe have done similar and how it's more historically and sympathetic and retains those views. Like we do have a significant view there. And I think we should do what we can to keep it.
I'd just like to add a comment about the supporting the public art piece and interpretation. Placking to support the heritage of the bridge. Succinct enough. I will also note that during the original one that they mentioned, I did ask for the THMB not to be removed and for a plan for that. So, you know, kind of echoing what Councillor Sullivan had said there, kind of revisiting the THMB bridge and its potential remaking of a new THMB bridge. Councillor Sullivan, did that suffice for what you were going to say, or did you want to add something else?
No, just a little of an addition that we also have them reach out to economic tourism development to see whether or not making the bridge look like an existing bridge is going to affect us economically with regards to filmmaking.
Okay, thank you. Anything else from you? No. So we got a number of comments. So, oh, sorry, Bev.
Comment, I really like the fact that they're squaring off the pedestrian lookouts. And I hope that they're gonna surface that with something that's not, that you can't look through, because it's really awkward to walk out on those current lookouts. They're terrible. So that was a positive.
Sure, through the chair. Yeah, can you clarify a little bit? Sorry. Can you say that again?
That the new design will have squared off pedestrian lookouts is an improvement. And the surface of it should be,
Transparent. Oh, you said looking through it.
Are you thinking like,
not that grading.
so not like a
Grades.
lower gorge, where you can see what you're.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, okay.
the screening
More
stuff or
stable,
whatever that's
more
there, yeah.
pedestrian friendly for any age. Yeah.
Good. Okay, great. Thanks for clarifying that. Can you bring those up on the screen for everyone?
Sorry, I have one more.
Oh, Dan, sorry. What else do you
So
have?
I've seen other art, I don't know if it's an art installation or what it is on other bridges or lookouts where there's a section piece of plexiglass or glass that has a imprint of, when you look through it, you see what it used to look like. What the downtown used to look like. There, you can see the outlines of the buildings, like if you're standing in where the feet are and looking through the plexiglass, it shows you where the buildings were. It's just, I think with the heritage and historical and that sort of thing, I think it's our chance to add something like that to a bridge that they're going to redevelop. It's something that could be looked into.
Yeah.
I don't know what it's called or what. Do you know what I mean? Like you look through this glass and there's an outline of the buildings or drawings of the buildings that you would see if you stood back in 1800.
Back in the day.
Yeah.
That's a great suggestion for part of the like public art.
Yeah.
Kind of historical plaquing and things like that. It fits within that theme. Okay. Gonna wait for everything to get put up on the screen for us so that people are aware of all of our lovely comments that we've put together here.
You don't have to make that bigger.
Yes.
That isn't working.
We're on mic, like, wait a minute.
And through the sheriff, any of the comments are not captured the way that you guys wanted to, please let me know and we can correct those as well.
So let's just take a minute to read through, and if you have anything that you want to be corrected or that wasn't captured right, just put your hand up.
Did you?
In 5, can you actually list Blackfriars Bridge in London as an example?
What is the name of that one?
Blackfriar. Yeah, Blackfriar, one word. F-R-I-A-R. Blackfriar, yeah. Blackfriars apostrophe bridge. Yeah. I know the bridge you're talking about, because I used it all the time in Finland. Okay, any other corrections to comments?
8, not be, is it saying graded? It should be
Great.
crated.
G-R-A-T-T-D.
It's that metal meshing kind of stuff you have to stand on now, it's
Yeah.
not, yeah.
Just
Great,
Pedestrian friendly.
right? You want great,
material.
not great. Yeah, there you go.
And then you said also not just pedestrian friendly, accessible. Put accessible.
sure, we can include the word
AO
Yeah.
or
ODA.
ODA, yes.
Yeah.
Sure. Oh, and then there stands comment, yeah, there at that end. Just go back a little bit, just make sure that we got the comment.
Oh, yeah. there's one.
because it went on to the next page. We have so many comments, we spilled onto a second page.
The last one, I think it's not just what the previous structure, you were saying what the surrounding area looked like.
Yeah.
Was that Dan?
The previous
sorry, yes,
city
yeah.
landscape. Right?
And landscape, perhaps?
Yes.
Landscape/cityscape.
They don't include plexiglass because of the material, but
Yeah.
we'll capture it as well in the minutes.
And it's not plexiglass, it's a certain, like a dimensional thing I think that you're talking about. It's because there's depth to it, it's a dimensional, and I know what you're talking about, but it's not just plexiglass, it's a green and, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not glyphic, I'll think of it.
Yeah. So that's why it's general, so
Yeah.
we're not mentioning the specific material type. Okay, any other last questions or comments before I call the vote on this? I'd
Is
be
it
like
just-
perplexed.
The issue that in this new design, there's not an overhead structure.
Which is part of the appeal of the bridge, right?
Yeah.
Well, no, it's got that piece that comes up,
Yeah,
and it's gotta be held with something, there's gonna be a supporting structure on top of it.
no, there's nothing up there.
No.
No.
I
You
don't
gotta
think
hold
there
these
is.
things together.
Yeah, no.
Oh,
there
okay,
isn't.
that's weird.
It's just a straight
I
across
just
little
assumed
bridge.
it was structurally needed something.
Yeah,
But we've incorporated that in the
At the
comment
top.
above.
and I
Right?
appreciate, like, there's a lot of engineering that goes into
Oh,
it,
for
materials are different than what they used to be and stuff, but like,
But they still should
the
be
design of it,
accomplished.
yeah. the design.
Okay, we've had a lot of discussion, so I'm gonna call the question on our comments. All those in favor? Thank you. Any opposed? None, I'll declare that carried. Oh, we're moving on to 4.2, which is William Muirhead and his incorporation to the wall of recognition. All right, is anyone gonna speak to that? No? From staff or no?
I can speak to that.
Okay, yep, go
So
ahead.
through the chair, City Council passed a resolution at the last council meeting, asking the Heritage Committee for support. To create a text or a biography that will be included in the wall of recognition underneath William Muirhead photo. So basically what the resolution that you all have in front of you indicates is the council is asking the committee for research, for support, to support the research of William Muirhead service history and basically provide comments to staff about things that staff should consider when creating this text. This text will later be coming to the August 26th Heritage Committee meeting. That the meeting will display or show a draft of what this text will be. And at that point, the committee can make further amendments and then be forwarded to City Council.
Okay, Councillor, I was gonna call you Councillor Sullivan.
Oh.
Councillor Sandwell, I'm gonna get in trouble.
So I'd be happy to move this motion, but I have a small amendment that I'd like to make. Can I go ahead and make that now?
Yep, go ahead.
So to part A, it's going to be that the Brantford Heritage Committee conduct research regarding William Muirhead's service history and comments be forwarded to the city clerk's office by Friday, August 2nd, 2024. And then it's just the rest of the same as it already reads.
Okay.
But I just wanted to make that so that we could get comments in time to be able to use them.
Yeah, perfect. Seconder for the amendment?
Do we have another meeting before that now and then?
No.
No. So like that, right, we are not gonna have a meeting in July, so that's why the comments would get forwarded to the clerk by the 2nd, so that they're ready for our August 26th meeting. Perfect. So I saw Dan second, perfect. So any questions or further discussion about the amendment? Team,
say thank you for that amendment, because that was gonna be my question.
Okay, perfect.
It's back to Patrick, so.
Okay, so well, Counselor Sullivan, do you want to speak to the amendment?
By doing this amendment, are we gonna be putting off the timing of when they want to do the wall of recognition? Or are we still gonna have enough time afterwards to orchestrate it?
Through the chair, that'll happen, this is gonna happen after. The wall of recognition, the induction is still gonna happen as scheduled. This is just the additional piece that is going to be added later on, just the biography.
Okay, thank you.
Ceremony and everything else will happen on time.
Any other questions about the amendment? Then I'm going to call the question on the amendment. All those in favor? Thank you. I declare that carried. So now we're back to the main motion as amended. You don't have to vote on the amendment and then vote on the motion as a whole.
So through the chair, what was moved?
Yeah.
Was the motion itself? So we should be. We don't
Okay.
need to vote on the motion.
Okay.
Just a little bit easier.
Yep. Yep.
That's right.
Okay. Then we'll move on to consent items. So we have the minutes from our main meeting. Are there any errors or omissions that anyone noted in the minutes? Seeing none, I'll ask for a mover for the minutes. I see Member Mikuchi and and Councillor Samuel. Any discussion about the minutes? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Thank you. I declare that carried. There are no notices, there are no resolutions and no notices of motion. But before we adjourn quickly, I would like to ask if anyone who attended the Joint Heritage Committee meeting wanted to share about that meeting that we had together. I know Sandra was there and Bev and Dan. Anyone want to speak first? I wanted to ask before the summer because I knew you would forget.
I thought it was a great event. I think that it should be done every year. I hope that Brant County is up next to post it. But I think it's great to hear everybody's thoughts on what are problems that they're going through and what their budgets are and all that kind of thing that we don't know about. I think that we're one of the bigger communities in that group. So we have more help from the city, but I thought it was great.
Sandra, go ahead.
And to echo that, to know that the other groups were in the same problems, we were maybe not to such a scope because we are a bigger place. That was very interesting. And then also how they interact with their city departments, I thought was really quite interesting. Not that anything was negative, but the just different relationships. And the perch celery bread was great. Thank you. You know, it was wonderful.
Bev, anything to
Yeah,
add?
I'm just thinking back, the church project was very interesting. The members of the Alderman Norfolk Heritage Committee did a mail out to all of the churches in the area to get a sense as to when they were established and what the current status is of those churches, just to have a better handle on the inventory, because one of the older churches, or no, it wasn't an older church necessarily, had suddenly been demolished, and no one had given the Heritage Committee the heads up that this was going to occur. So it was kind of
After hours, after dark,
Yeah.
it's gone the next morning and
Saturday afternoon.
Oh,
Okay. go
and the
ahead.
discussion on the 2-year extension that the provincial government gave us to kind of look at maybe getting some more places designated. I think that was good.
Yeah, that was definitely some good news.
Yes.
The other thing that I thought was interesting is they also, Norfolk mentioned that they had developed a tool for property owners of designated buildings who were coming up with issues in getting insurance. And they had given, because some people were being told that you have to replace everything exactly as it was. And so Norfolk, their planner, wrote a letter that says our municipality does not require that everything be replaced identically. And so when they got that letter from the municipality, that eased up some of the insurance issues for the property owner, which I thought that was like a great way of of working with people. And then what's something else I was gonna bring up? Oh, the county of Brant, they had done all the work into their heritage register like thing, and because it wasn't actually an official register, they still came up with some kind of process through their official plan where they noted those properties, and then those properties would be flagged so that before anything happened to them, there would be some input and insight. So they did try and create some mechanism to deal with that, so that it wasn't just like the heritage register's gone, there's nothing that we can do about it. So I thought that was a very interesting approach or strategy as well that might also benefit us.
Finely worded workaround.
Yeah,
instead of the
So there's not the
worst.
time restrictions that.
No, it had to do more with the term registry was not used. And so anything in their inventory could still be considered for designation.
without a time.
For the,
We still have our inventory, that's how it ran at one point.
So like I think that's really great that everyone who did attend came away with something, some notes from that night, which is very helpful, bringing that information back to the committee so that we can all do our jobs better, I think is very helpful to all of us. And hopefully the County of Brant will host next year.
I was told they're going to.
So was I, but I'm gonna wait with bated breath to get that confirmation, which would then mean hopefully that in 2026 we would be hosting the following year. It would kind of be our turn to host again. So
And there was gonna be some follow-up about the insurance that they were gonna be in touch with us.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
I'd like to hear that.
I think that they were gonna form a group of a couple of members from each
Mhm.
area to kind of get together to make a plan on looking into insurance.
yeah, and they said something about interest in meeting on like a quarterly basis between Norfolk, Haldeman, and the county.
Yeah.
Like a staff, I think a more like a staff like thing to make sure that they're connected and they're all like learning and working together from the same page. And if someone's has an issue in one municipality, they share that knowledge with other municipalities. So yeah, great. So we look forward to next year's Joint Heritage Committee meeting as well. So with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Sandra, thank you very much. Have a great summer, everyone. See you.